Piers Morgan just said something absolutely mind-blowing. Hamas claimed that 330 people were killed in an Israeli airstrike, and Piers responded that if Hamas's numbers were even close to accurate, there is, quote, no justification for such mass slaughter. Piers, my man, you told Tucker Carlson that America's bombing of Japan was, quote, morally justified. Quick recap, America killed millions of Japanese people. It leveled 66 of Japan's largest cities, not including the cities it nuked. In just over 2 hours, America burned 100,000 people alive in Tokyo. You said this was all justified because, quote, you have to stop them from killing your civilians. I happen to agree, by the way. But how can you say it's justified for America to kill millions, but not justified if Israel killed hundreds? To quote former President Biden, come on, man. The last time Israel struck that very site, by the way, 31 Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists were eliminated. How's that for justification? And by any chance, did you investigate if that site was still being used as a terror base before you said there was no justification for the attack? Speaking of World War II, it seems to me that Israel's war on Hamas is even more justified than America's war on Japan. On October 7th, Hamas killed almost 7 times more Israelis as a percentage of population than Japan killed Americans at Pearl Harbor. And in response, Israel killed over 2.5 times less Gazans as a percentage of population than America killed Japanese. Japan is almost 6,000 miles away from America. Gaza is 6 inches away from Israel. But somehow, in your view, America nuking Japan and killing hundreds of thousands of civilians was justified, but Israel striking a Hamas compound and potentially killing hundreds is not? Why the double standard? Of all people, I'd think you understand that some wars are justified despite the tragic and inevitable reality of civilian death in war. Take your grandfather, for example. You call him a hero, and rightly so, because he helped liberate Burma from Japan. Many, many civilians were killed by the British in your grandfather's war. And the British Army killed far more Japanese than the Japanese killed British. Did that mean that there was no justification for the British Army's actions in World War II? Not for a second. One only needed to imagine what the world would look like if Germany and Japan had won that war. It would have meant decades of enslavement, tyranny, and mass murder. But because your grandfather and many other brave Allied soldiers won that war, there was peace and prosperity and freedom for decades. Your brother, by the way, is also a hero. As a colonel in the Royal Welsh Regiment, he fought in Afghanistan against the Taliban. But his regiment also participated in the Battle of Marja, in which a house used by the Taliban was targeted, and sadly, 12 civilians were killed. This was, of course, a tragedy, but it didn't invalidate the profound justice of fighting al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Like your grandfather and like your brother, the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces are heroes fighting evil. Mistakes are obviously made at times in Gaza, just as they were in Burma and Afghanistan. But that doesn't negate the supreme need to fight and defeat the terrorists and tyrants that threaten the survival of our civilization. If you want to end innocent people suffering in this war, and we all do, the best way to do that is to support Israel's total victory. If Israel wins, there can be peace. If Hamas wins, there will be genocide and eternal war. Like your heroic grandfather and your heroic brother, Israeli soldiers bravely sacrifice themselves to protect their families and their country. They defend our democracy from genocidal tyrants who seek nothing less than our complete annihilation. At 18 years old, these heroes make split-second decisions in the fog of war while battling the terrorists who slaughtered their siblings, their parents, and their grandparents. The IDF deserves your praise, not your condemnation. They deserve your respect, not your Monday morning quarterbacking from an air-conditioned studio thousands of miles away. If ever there was a just war, Israel is fighting it. And if ever there was a time to unreservedly back Israel's total victory, it is now.